Non-law defends $250,000 severance pay for former sugar workers. Police to start aviation unit. Sharon Hicks bribery case still under DPP review. And GWI left with $540 million debt. No one gets punished. I'm Rico Pulford and welcome to tonight's edition of Uncut News. Do you see news happening? Send us a tip on WhatsApp at 592-659-6151. Non-law is defending the government's decision to give a $250,000 severance payment to former sugar workers and former sugar workers only. He said this is in response to Harman's recent statement in which he called the move a ploy for votes and discriminatory against the rest of the public servants of Guyana. Non-law shot back, contending that the billions that will be given to the former sugar workers is basically compensation for their troubles since APNU let them go all those years ago. He also followed it up by reminding that the severance pay for the sugar workers was one of the PPP's election promises. As such, they feel compelled to do it. The cops have launched a manhunt for double murder accused Capetillo Gangadin, who managed to escape from the Lusignan prison early this morning. Gangadin was housed in the quarantine section of the prison, as it had been less than 2 weeks since he was remanded. From initial investigations, Gangadin had tampered with the door of the building before escaping over the park fence of the prison. The police said he used a cloth pole to scale the fence, whatever that is. Anyone knowing the whereabouts of Gangadin should contact the nearest police station or call 911. The government is considering implementing a fully vaccinated mandate for travelers to Guyana, as well as anyone who wishes to enter a public building. This is basically a case of monkey see, monkey do. As Minister Anthony said, we may do it because countries around the world are implementing the fully vaccinated mandate already. A person is only considered fully vaccinated 2 weeks after they take their second dose of a vaccine. Either way, they will come to a final decision by the end of the month. Head of the Police's Strategic Planning Unit, Assistant Superintendent Nicola Kendall, announced that the GPF is aiming to establish an aviation unit. In addition to that, she said the Marine Patrol capability of the force will soon be enhanced with the establishment of a Marine unit in East Berbice quarantine. They are supposed to help with piracy over there, so good for them. Are you one of the chosen few that benefits from duty-free? Good for you. Check out these amazing vehicles that just arrived at Best Buy Auto Sales. This 2016 Toyota Harrier Grand Sport Edition, this 2014 Range Rover Evoque, and this 2016 Lexus RX 200T are all on sale. They are all fully loaded and come with all modern features. Call or WhatsApp 662-0844 for more info, or visit their showrooms at Lot 171 Bureau Street, Queenstown, or Lot 2 Lamar Street, and tell them the Rico sent you to get in on this sweet deal. Gold exports declined by US $86.4 million for the first half of 2021. The Bank of Guyana half-year report stated that this year's revenue amounted to US $438.1 million, while in 2020 it amounted to US $524.5 million. According to the Bank of Guyana, the total export earnings increased by 63.6% to US $786.9 million to US $2.02 billion from US $1.23 billion. That was recorded at the end of June 2020. Last year's large increase in revenues could be directly attributed to the increase of gold prices after the coronavirus hit. On Wednesday, 40-year-old Cleveland Allen was charged with damage to property. This is after he admitted to the court that a jumbie made him smash his neighbor's windows on October 22nd at Lamaha Park, Georgetown. According to Allen, the two were not on speaking terms at the time, but on that day, a jumbie allegedly took hold of him and drove him to smash the windows of the man's house. Since he is unable to pay for the window repairs, he was sentenced to 1 month in prison. He was unable to pay for it, by the way, because he is unemployed. The DPP is still reviewing the case file on the bribery allegation against the Ministry of Amerindian Affairs Permanent Secretary Sharon Hicks. Starbrick News says that the public relations officer of the DPP's chambers said the file is currently being looked at. They have had the file for well over a week now, so this better end up with a conviction.
Boom! My name is Mudwater from Guyana Uncut. I have a big truck. Note, I didn't say I have the big truck. I have a big truck. When I need affordable parts for my truck, I only go to one place. Powered Automotive Truck Spares and Engine Parts. They stock parts for DAF, Freightliner, International, and Mack trucks. Also, all genuine Cummins engine spares. They're also the authorized dealer in Guyana for Hammer parts. And as a wise man once said, don't DPS. Get your engine parts from PATSEP. Call 697-0171 for inquiries and tell them Mudwater sent you. Boom out!
It's now time for today's Runner Report. Today, the nation recorded 98 new cases. There are now 904 persons dead, 23 in the ICU, 2,832 in home isolation, and the total number of confirmed cases around the nation now stands at 35,350. So please, people, wash your hands frequently. Avoid touching your nose and mouth and mask up before you leave the house. When you do leave home, try to avoid enclosed spaces and large crowds, and remember to give 6 feet of space between you and others. Now for a vaccine report. To date, 380,257, or 74.1% of adults, have received their first dose, and 241,211, or 47% of adults, are fully vaccinated. As for the children ages 12 to 18, 27,193, or 37.3%, received their first dose of the Pfizer vaccine, and 17,868, or 24.5%, are fully vaccinated. Thousands of doses of the AstraZeneca vaccines were set to expire at the end of November. Minister Anthony said these vaccines were the ones set aside for persons to get their second doses. Last week, he said more than 55,000 people still needed to come back for a second shot of the AstraZeneca vaccine. In total, 139,000 people need to return to receive their second dose of any of the vaccines. And now for our stupid news of the day. You know what I think is stupid? Just how much time the government spends cleaning up each other's messes. Minister within the Ministry of Housing, Susan Rodriguez, recently stated that when she took over last year, GWI had 2 bunk overdrafts totaling $540 million. She added that the company owed its suppliers and creditors over $800 million, and they also owed GPL $7 billion. As the CEO of GWI, Dr. Van West Charles, left this massive debt and nothing will come of it. In fact, he's running for the PNC chairmanship as we speak. Unfortunately, this is the same story we hear so much we've almost become immune to it. So much money is lost through government waste and corruption, and no one ever gets punished for it. Why, whatever happened to Westford and the SUVs she gave her family? Sukai and her teeth, Nandalal and his wind-seed treatments, Patterson and his jewelry, Norton and his drug bond, Granger and his election, Jagdeo and, well, come on, everything in this country just about. These are just a few of the examples off the top of my head I can think of. But despite all of this, each of these people are still in government in some way, shape, or form. How can we continue to put our faith in people who have wronged us in the past, over and over again, and have made no efforts to show remorse? It's maddening. Guyanese of all walks of life need to organize and pressure the government to actually prosecute corrupt officials harshly. But I would even take it a step further and offer them some level of leniency. But, in their sentence. But this is only if they show the states exactly how they did the corrupt transactions and who assisted them in the process, so we could go and fire those individuals too, and put whatever laws or systems in place to prevent others from doing the same. Because if you ask me, having the cat to watch the milk is pretty stupid. Don't miss the grand 50% off sale and get a free 1-month Digital Prime bundle plan. Available at City Mall, Starbucks Square, Regent and Light Street, Marcy Turkine and Marcy Providence. Shop early, limited stocks available. Moving on to our Uncut News Views Poll question of the day. Every day we pose a question about current events in the nation, the region, the diaspora, and how you feel it relates to us. So you give your responses in the comments and we'll read the best ones in the following episode. Yesterday's question was, should they change the gun laws to make the process faster and more efficient? Carl Somewhat says, I think they should make firearms more accessible indeed. The case for we ex-military and police personnel, provided that we're thoroughly evaluated, need tools of the trade, instead of putting us under the thumb of some draconian private security company. Some of them don't even want to pay taxes or pay people their fair wages. That's a fair point. Joshua Jagmohan says, I support the change in gun licensing laws because it will help a lot of business owners to feel safe when they're out. King Tut says, what's the point in having gun licenses when the majority of guns in the country are unlicensed and the police have no proper systems in place to monitor and track them? Well, that's a fair point. Martina de Grella says, farmers also needed for pest control. You know, you're right. No one ever thinks of those poor indigenous farmers that have to defend their cattle from jaguars and the like. Now, I'm not saying to shoot the animal, but I'm sure a warning shot helps. Ron Glasgow says, wouldn't support any law that makes accessing firearms easy for non-law enforcing personnel. I believe it will just contribute to the amount of guns that criminals manage to get their hands on. Am I the only one that saw the video of the guy stealing a very large firearm from a sleeping guard? Same energy you have to grant more gun licenses, use it to educate persons on how to escape poverty and not to resort to crime, and to train licensed gun holders how to avoid those negligent discharges, or whatever they call it, that we hear about every month. You also have a great point, and I agree. You know, you all really put a lot of thought into this one, and you all had some good perspectives. I love it. So for tonight's question, people keep escaping from losing on, mainly because they are bored and have a set of free time to plan escapes. What sort of programs should the prison service implement to keep the inmates busy and productive? Think about that question and tell us in the comments below. If your response is good enough, we just might feature it in our next episode. Anyway, that's all the time we have for tonight, and check us out tomorrow for another. Until then, I'm Rico Bulford saying good night, folks. Hey, Uncut News viewers, thanks for watching. You can subscribe by clicking on this button over here, or click over there for more news. You can also drop a comment to let me know if you've made it to the end of the video. Goodbye for now.